Hello viewers, and welcome to the latest installment of the LOTR LCG Progression Series, a production by Cardboard of the Rings, the bi-weekly podcast about the Lord of the Rings, the card game, which is a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. This is Mitch.
And I'm Matthew.
And today we're going to be playing through Over the Misty Mountains Grim, the second scenario of the Hobbit Overhill and Underhill Saga expansion. So Matthew, where did we leave off in our story?
After a brief respite at the House of Elrond in Rivendell, Bilbo and the dwarves begin the long climb over the Misty Mountains. Elrond warned them that the mountains were full of danger. Stone giants tossed huge boulders for fun, and evil things lurked in the dark caves waiting for unsuspecting travelers to let their guard down. Yet, those were the perils Bilbo and his companions had to face to reach the other side of the mountains and continue their quest.
So now that we've covered our story, why don't we go ahead and jump into our player decks? So, as per usual, I'm going to be running Dane Ironfoot due to his potent dwarf enhancement effects. I've got Thalin, which is straying from the normal for me, in that he's going to be able to deal 1 damage to those suspicious crows that caused quite a bit of a problem last video. I've also got Nori to take advantage of a lot of different potent spirit effects. I've got a host of primarily questing allies, Longbeard Orc Slayer to help Thalin hopefully kill plenty of goblins that we're going to be dealing with during our third quest phase, some effects like Hardy Leadership. I have 2 different treasures in this deck. Since we stumbled across those last video, I've got a host of readying effects and quite a few different tactics events that'll hopefully help Matthew and I to make all the difference in this scenario. And what are you going to be running today?
My deck is somewhat similar to the deck I ran in the first Hobbit quest, but I am adding Dwalin because of his ability to lower my threat every time he attacks and destroys an orc enemy, and so luckily every goblin is an orc. And there are plenty of them once we progress to the final quest card. I've also added Goblin Cleaver as a fun way to get rid of some of these goblins that tend to swarm in this particular quest, and the treasure that I chose was Glamdring to help me with a little bit of card draw. So let's hope that that is enough to tackle the Misty Mountains Grim.
So now that we've covered our decks, why don't we go ahead and make myself the first player. Let's go ahead and shuffle our decks and draw our opening hand of 6 cards. It looks like I actually got some really good stuff, so I'll be able to get some allies very early. I've got resource acceleration, I've got action advantage, I've got some stuff to help me deal with goblins once we get to our third quest phase. Overall, not too bad. I guess, how about yourself?
I'm going to go ahead and mulligan.
Alright. So how did that end up turning out?
I should have kept the other one.
Alright, well, not what I love to hear, but I guess why don't we go ahead and take a look at our quest card. So quest phase 1A is set up. Shuffle the Over the Misty Mountains Grim and Western Lands encounter sets into 1 encounter deck and make it the active encounter deck. We've gone ahead and created both encounter decks for use in this scenario automatically because OCTGN does it for us. So the way that this scenario breaks down is that initially we've got to battle and overcome up to 3 stone giants, and then we'll eventually take refuge inside the Misty Mountains and stumble across the Great Goblin and all of his goblin minions. So this is very similar to Foundations of Stone in a way. Quest Phase 1B is each player may search his deck for 1 treasure card and add it to his hand, then shuffle his deck and advance to Quest Phase 2A. So I'm going to go ahead and search through my deck here and find Orcrist. So where is that card?
So Glamdring's been added to my hand.
Alright, and I have found Orcrist, so I'll add that to my hand. I'm going to go ahead and close and shuffle my deck. So moving on to Quest Phase 2A, there's only flavor text. In Quest Phase 2B is when revealed, search the encounter deck for 1 copy of Stone Giant, add it to the staging area, shuffle the encounter deck, and reveal 1 card per player, and add that to the staging area. So our Stone Giant is going to be one of, like I mentioned, 3 in this 25 card encounter deck. Its engagement cost is awfully high at 40, but it's 4 threat, 6 attack, 3 defense, 9 hit points. While one of these is sitting in the staging area, a treachery card called Galloping Boulders gains Surge, and after a stone giant engages a player, we have to choose and discard an ally. So with that covered, why don't we go ahead and take a look at what else we have to deal with. So encounter card number 1 is a Lone Lands, so relatively inoffensive location. Encounter card number 2 is a Galloping Boulders. So the first player chooses a questing character. This does nothing because it's during setup. It does gain Surge, but at the present moment it is discarded with no effect. So it surges too. Come on, Galloping Boulders. A Cave Entrance. So while this is in the staging area, it ends up adding cards to the bottom of the encounter deck. So not the worst setup in the world, but we're up against a 7 threat here. So why don't we go ahead and start our first turn. So I'm going to go ahead and draw 1 card, and I'm going to do 1 resource to each of my characters. I suppose for the very first turn of the game, I'm not actually going to be playing anything. Next turn, I'm going to start accelerating my resources, probably smoothing out my resources a little bit with a song I drew, and I can start doing 1 action advantage card, maybe on Gimli or some other character, but what are you doing for planning?
I will be placing Glamdring on Dwalin, and that is it for me.
Okay. So for questing, I suppose I should send everybody I can, so I'm going to do a total of 6. And how about yourself?
I will send 5.
Alright, so we don't really have any good way of dealing with the stone giant yet. I guess let's see what happens. So encounter card number 1 is a discard all Baggins resources, so we're eventually going to want to accumulate something like 5. At the present moment, losing 1 is not that big of a deal, so let me get rid of that. Encounter card number 2 is the High Pass, so X is 2. At the end of the round, remove 2 progress tokens from the current quest. So this is a little bit different. It's 5 progress tokens, and so long as it remains in play, it's going to keep whittling away at the quest. It looks like we're up against 2, 3, 4, 5, a total of 9 threat. So we're going to make 2 progress, and it looks like at the end of the round, that 2 progress is going to be stripped away. So for our travel phase, do we want to travel to the High Pass here?
Sure.
Alright, I suppose we might as well. So quite the buffer, but it's going to be frustrating anyway. For engagement, the stone giant is going to be sitting here unless one of us wants to snag him.
I'm not quite ready to tangle with him yet.
Alright, and I don't really have any convenient way of getting rid of him, so might as well leave him here. I guess, shall we do refresh and end the round? Alright, so refresh. I'll make you first player. Here's Bilbo with 1 resource on him. At the end of the round, 2 different things happen. So we've got to place the top 2 cards of the encounter discard pile on the bottom of the encounter deck, which is our More Like a Grocer and our Galloping Boulders. And then we've also got to strip 2 progress tokens from our current quest. So let's get rid of those 2. So, a little bit worse off than back to square one. But let's do our resources, let's draw our card. I ended up getting something useless. And what are you doing for planning?
I will play a Vassal of the Windlord for 1.
Okay.
I will play a Dwarven Axe for 2.
Alright.
And I will play a Sigil Miner for 2.
Alright. So, a little bit of a power turn from you. For me, I'll do 2 resources off of Dane for a Steward of Gondor. I'll trigger that, put 2 resources on him. I don't have any sort of cancellation type effect. Would you want an Unexpected Courage on Gimli? I could throw it on, say, Thalin, but I'm trying to think of what would be best for trying to clear out this godforsaken giant here. I think I'm going to go ahead and get our first Unexpected Courage, at least, on Gimli here. So if you want to take control of that, there you go. Eventually I'll lay down my treasure on Thalin, and hopefully have him do some attacking for me.
Okay.
And then the only other thing I'm going to do is nothing, actually. So next turn I'll do some cool stuff.
Okay.
But But I guess that is it. So,
Mm-hmm.
questing. I suppose this time I'll only be able to send a total of 5.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you want to send Bilbo?
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll send 6.
Alright, total of 6 brings us to 11 once again. I guess let's see what we reveal. So encounter card number 1 is a Suspicious Crow. So right away, this takes 1 damage from Thalon, and it does not have an opportunity to trigger its when revealed, so it is killed. Encounter card number 2 is another Stone Giant. So it takes 1 damage from Thalon. We're currently up against a total of 8, 9, 10, 11 threat. So we're going to break even completely. For travel, we do not have any options, and for engagement,
I will take one of the Stone Giants.
does it matter which one it's going to be?
No, it does not.
Okay, so I suppose we might as well bring down the beefiest one. So this guy comes down to you, and you've got to discard an ally.
Sigil Minor will go away.
Okay, so Sigil Minor is gone. Let's do a shadow card for this enemy.
And then my vassal, the Windlord, will defend.
Alright, and the shadow card is... If this attack deals at least 1 damage, shuffle Suspicious Crow back into the encounter deck. So I'm actually happy to see that. So I'll shuffle that back into the encounter deck.
Yeah, too bad I didn't include Horn of Gondor in this deck. With that said, I will swing with the team, which should be more than enough.
Yep, so Gimli 3, Bjorn makes it 8, and then Dwalin makes it 11, 15. So Stone Giant is at -3 and is killed. So, there's 1 left here in the staging area. There's nothing I'm doing for combat, so I suppose shall we end our turn?
Yep.
Alright, so refresh, and if you'd make me first player, I'll steal Bilbo. At the end of the round, we have to do our cave entrance once again, so the Stone Giant is going to go to the bottom of the encounter deck, and the Suspicious Crow does as well. Since there are treacheries that can fetch Stone Giants, that's definitely not the best thing that could happen, but oh well. I guess let's do 1 resource for each of our characters. I'll trigger Steward of Gondor. I'll go ahead and draw my 1 card. For my planning, I think I'm going to go ahead and spend 3 resources off of Dane Ironfoot, and I'm going to go ahead and play Feely. So I'll immediately drop my threat down by 1 because of Nori's ability. I'm going to go ahead and look at my deck, and I'm going to search for his counterpart Keely right near the top. I'll close and shuffle that, and I'll have these 2 in play. So that's 4 willpower and 4 attack strength. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 resources off of Thalon for an Erebor Battlemaster, and I'm also going to do 1 resource off Dane Ironfoot for a Song of Travel on Dane, and I'm going to do 1 resource off Nori, 1 resource off Dane for Unexpected Courage on Thalon, and I'm going to go ahead and play Orcrist on Thalon.
Alrighty then.
So, 1 hell of a turn from me. All I've got left in my little bag of tricks is Sneak Attack and Goblin Cleaver and a useless copy of Steward. So what are you doing for planning?
Well, I'm going to balance your power turn by not playing a damn thing.
Alright, well, again, not what I love to hear, but...
Well, I could play something, but I have an expensive Eagle ally that I drew that I would love to see play for the very first time in a progression series, so he might be making an appearance next turn.
Cool, and I guess that would be...
very helpful for Bjorn.
Definitely. Could help us stomach some Stone Giant attacks for sure.
Yeah, I could also play a unique Tactics Dwarf, but that might interfere with his Spirit version. It's not necessary for me to be drawing weapons at this point. I could play an Axe, but also less necessary. So I certainly have things to play. I just, in the short term, I don't know if they're as helpful as the Eagle would be next turn.
Well, I guess we might as well go ahead and do our questing. So for me, should be able to do quite a bit more than I did last turn. So I'll do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'll also send my Erebor Battlemaster. So I'm going to go ahead and send a total of, I think, 11 to the quest. And how about you?
I will send 3.
Alright, so it looks like we're going to be doing a total of 14, and let's see what we reveal. So encounter card number 1 is Dreary Hills, so a 3-threat location. Encounter card number 2 is a Wind-Whipped Rain, and this is discard all non-treasure, non-objective attachments in play. And I do not have a cancellation effect. Do you happen to have one? I'll take that as a no. So for each of us running 3 copies of a Test of Will, that has failed us. So I lose my Unexpected Courage, I lose my Steward, and I lose my Song of Travel. Awesome. So looks like we're up against 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're going to make a total of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 on our active location.
Alright.
Oh, sucks. Alright, well, no option for travel. For engagement, we don't have to engage the stone giant, but do we want to?
Yeah, I suppose I can.
Alright, so I'll move him down in front of you and give him a shadow card. How do you want to deal with his attack?
Bjorn will defend.
Alright, so Bjorn doesn't have to exhaust. Shadow card is discard all Baggins resources, so...
I could cancel that if need be. I know we're sort of wanting to save them so the third quest card isn't as potent.
Right, I suppose we probably should do that. I know I've got copies of Hasty Strokes somewhere in my deck, so...
Alright, so I will play a copy of Hasty Stroke.
Alright, so that is dealt with. And I guess we'd normally discard it at the end of combat, so... Anyway, how do you want to deal with the Stone Giant? Alright, so... Plenty of damage. Whoops. I did not mean to transfer the 5 damage. Let me give that back real quick.
Yeah, it's sort of weird how you can do... I feel like Octagon, you weren't able to do that before, but now you can.
I definitely never noticed that before. But anyway, Stone Giant is killed just like before. Its shadow card is gone. I guess that is going to bring us to the end of the round.
Yep.
So why don't we go ahead and refresh. I'll make you first player. I'll toss Bilbo to you with a resource already on him. And of course at the end of the round, we have to put that at the bottom of the encounter deck. We have to put our second killed Stone Giant at the bottom of the encounter deck.
Oh.
I'm going to go ahead and do my resources and draw a card. Really wish I had my attachments in play.
I drew an Unexpected Courage, but because of the Hasty Stroke, I'm a resource short. So all I'm going to be able to do is a copy of Landreval.
Alrighty. And let's see here. I drew another copy of one of our pair of allies that's not doing me any good. I do have another Steward, but that's not going to see play for a little while. So I'm not doing anything for planning. I assume that was all you were going to do.
Yep.
Okay. Questing.
Well, I will send the team.
Okay, so what is your total here?
7.
Okay, and it looks like I'm going to do a total of 10. So 17, let's see what we get. Card number 1. Hey, why not? So Galloping Boulders. The first player chooses a questing character. That character takes 3 damage and is removed from the quest. Landreval is a pretty good option.
Yeah, I suppose.
So let's get rid of that, and that's 1 less willpower committed to the quest. Encounter card number 2 is Overhanging Rock. So while it's the active location, we can spend a Baggins resource to look at the top of our deck, add one of those to our hands, and discard the other. I guess interesting effect, but we're going to be up a total of 5, 6, 7, 8 threat. We've got 16 committed, which means we're going to make 8 progress. So 1 goes on our active location, which is gone, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on our current quest card. For travel, which of these do we want to go to? I guess Dreary Hills is the most threat.
Yeah.
Cave Entrance is going to put the High Pass and a Galloping Boulders back in the encounter deck.
Yeah, Cave Entrance is super annoying. I don't particularly care which, though.
I guess the random discard might hurt from Dreary Hills, but I really want to get rid of that 3 threat.
Okay.
Alright, so let's do Dreary Hills, and I guess kind of wishing we had something like a Northern Tracker, but that would be miserable to have to trigger that forced effect so many times from these two
All right.
locations. So,
Yep.
all right, so that is said and done. There's no engagement. I guess, shall we just refresh?
Yep. And cave entrance goes off.
So control R. If you'd be so kind as to make me the first player, I'll take control of Bilbo. At the end of the turn, that cave entrance is going to trigger, so high pass at the bottom of the encounter deck, followed by galloping boulders. I'll do my resources on all my characters. I will draw a card. Pretty sure I forgot to drop my threat when I played this Erebor Battlemaster here, but not the end of the world. I suppose I'll do 2 leadership resources for a Steward of Gondor on Dane. I'm going to go ahead and trigger that right away. Hopefully I'm not going to end up regretting putting that into play. If he had that Song of Travel, it would be great for me to continually pop Bofur in and out of play that I drew. But at the present moment, I don't think I'm going to play him, so what are you up to this turn?
I will play another Unexpected Courage on Gimli.
Awesome.
And that's it for me.
Okay. So for questing, I suppose I'm going to go ahead and send 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 total.
I will send 6.
Okay, so looks like it's going to be a total of 17. And let's see what we reveal. So encounter card number 1 is a cave entrance once again. Encounter card number 2 is going to be Suspicious Crow. So it takes 1 damage from Thalon. It is immediately killed before its effect can trigger. So we're up against 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 threat. We're going to make 11 progress. 2 is on our Dreary Hills. And before I trigger that forced effect, I'll go ahead and do our 9 progress tokens on our current quest card. So we are going to pass that, but that forced effect is each player must discard 1 card at random from his hand.
I lost a Sigil Miner.
And I lost a Goblin Cleaver. That sucks. Oh well. So, our location is explored, which means Bilbo gets to gain 1 resource, putting him at 5, and we have 16 out of the 16 progress required to pass our current quest phase.
That was lucky timing for the Bilbo resource.
Definitely was. Because once we go to quest phase 3A, we shuffle all these cards back into the encounter deck, and it becomes inactive. So let me move all these to the encounter deck. It's now inactive. I'll replace it with a different encounter deck. And now that we've made that an inactive encounter deck, we've replaced it with our second one. So we have to search this new encounter deck for the Great Goblin and add him to the staging area. We'll close and shuffle that encounter deck, and we'll go ahead and move on to Quest Phase 3B. So we cannot defeat this stage unless the Great Goblin is in the victory display. He's 3 threat, 5 attack, 2 defense, 8 hit points, and as soon as he attacks, we have to discard 2 cards off the top of the encounter deck. Any of those that are goblins get added into play, and I am not so fortunate to have a feint in my hand. I don't know about you.
Nope.
Oh, fantastic. So, the other part of Quest Phase 3B is that we reveal 3 encounter cards per player, and Bilbo can spend X resources to reduce the total number by X to a minimum of 1. So 6 minus 5 is going to be a minimum of 1. It's 20 progress tokens to pass it. We have to kill the Great Goblin and then make that 20 progress. Making sure the encounter deck is shuffled, our one revealed card is a Goblin Axeman. So at the present moment, he's only attacking for 1. I guess we're going to go ahead and transition to travel phase, no options, and then engagement phase.
Yeah.
Which of us do you think should take the Great Goblin?
Well, I don't think it's possible for either one of us to kill him this round.
Right.
If I was to take him, Bjorn would be 1 hit point away from death. Little scary, though, of course, I have Landreval. Gimli, I've got no Citadel Plate, so he'd be just as endangered. I would be able to handle the Goblin Axeman, as wimpy as he is. I wish Dwalin was ready, because that could help with my threat, and I could draw a card.
Right.
But I have no combat tricks. I can maybe play our wizard friend next turn to take off some of the heat, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Either with what we get from the staging area because of the Great Goblin or on him himself. But I would prefer if you took the Goblin because you have the best defender on the table.
Right, and I guess my Battle Master next turn could potentially swing for, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
And with Thalon, that should be enough. Maybe we'll get something good. Maybe Gandalf can help. So
Right.
I guess Great Goblin to me, again, with both of us playing Tactics, with both of us playing Spirit, no Test of Will, no
Nope.
feint, so
Nope.
miserable. But Goblin Axeman is yours.
Okay.
Let's do some shadow cards. So I'm first player, and you are the next player. Great Goblin. I will defend with Dane Ironfoot. Let's see what his shadow card is. Defending player raises threat by 1. So I'm
Not
up
too
to
bad.
33. And Dane is going to take 2 points of damage.
And then I will defend with Gimli.
Right. So after the Great Goblin attacks, we've got to do that
Oh,
discard
right.
of 2.
Mhm.
So let me get that out of the way really quick. Please not an enemy. God damn it. Please not an enemy. God damn it again. So these are added to the staging area, so they don't trigger any sort of abilities, but there are a lot of threats. So let's see here. So it's going to be a 2-threat, 3 attack, and a 3-threat, 2 attack. And it looks like both of them are going to come down next turn. So, Goblin Axeman still attacking for 1.
Right.
I guess.
I guess I could just do Bjorn.
Yeah.
Not that it really matters.
Might as
but,
well. Defense 1, so.
Well, there's defense lowering things. So it's probably still. I mean, Bjorn can kill them all by himself, so still probably safer to go with Gimli.
Alright, so Gimli. And defending player deals damage among characters he controls. Basically deal 1 damage to one of your characters.
I'll put that on Gimli.
Alright, so Gimli doesn't take any damage from the Axeman. And then how do you want to deal? Okay, so Bjorn tears the Axeman apart, brings it to -1. So it is discarded. At the end of combat, let's get rid of these 2 shadow cards. And I guess that is it. So shall we refresh?
Yep.
Alright, so refresh. I will make you first player. Here's Bilbo with 1 resource. I will draw a card. I ended up getting our wizard companion. And let me do our resources here. So, before we move past our resource phase, there is an opportunity for player actions. And because we've got this nasty Great Goblin sitting here, because I really don't want to have to stomach another attack, I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 resource off Dane Ironfoot for a sneak attack.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
And I'm going to go ahead and pick Gandalf. So Gandalf is going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 damage to the Great Goblin, and at the end of the resource phase, he's going to bounce back into my hand. And now we can go ahead and continue on with planning, starting with you.
Well, interestingly enough, I drew a Gandalf, though I had one in my hand, so I will play another.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
Alright, and what do you want to do with his ability?
Well, I'm going to use 1 Baggins resource, if that's alright.
Okay, so I'll strip that away.
And I will also put 4 damage on the Great Goblin.
Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4. He's at 8 of 8. Control V. He's added to the victory display, so we've got 3 victory points. And now things get a little bit difficult, because cards like this Goblin Bent Swords all of a sudden gain Surge. So we've got to deal with these enemies without getting completely overwhelmed. Anything else for your planning?
That will be it for me.
For me, I think I'm just going to strip 3 resources off of Nori, and I'm going to go ahead and put Bofer into play. I'll, of course, drop my threat down by 1, and I think that is it for me.
Okay.
So for questing, we've got 2 enemies with us. They're going to be 5 threat. We need a total of 20 progress. We're probably going to have a bunch of enemies come down and attack us. I don't really have any convenient way of dealing with that. I guess you've got Bjorn.
Yeah.
And as soon as he's destroyed, Landval can rescue him.
Yep. I'll send 6 if you want to exhaust Bilbo for me.
Okay, so let me see here. I definitely am going to send these guys. I suppose I should hold back Thalon and the Battlemaster just to maybe do some killing.
Okay.
So I'm going to do 3, 6, basically 10. So a total of 16 committed to the quest. Let's see what we get. Encounter card number 1 is a Goblin Axeman, so 1 attack, 2 threats. Encounter card number 2, please no Surge, is Surge, of course, which surges to not Surge. So this is while a Great Cavern Room is the active location, it gains force. After a player engages a goblin enemy, he must deal 1 damage to a character he controls. When faced with the option to travel, if the Great Goblin's in the victory display, the players must travel here. So we're going to end up taking something like 4 damage. Probably not the end of the world. Looks like we're up against 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 threat. We're going to end up making 6 progress on our current quest phase.
Yep.
And for travel, we have to go to the Great Cavern Room for engagement. Every single enemy is going to engage us. I suppose it doesn't matter too much who takes what, really.
Well, 2 of them are 3. That's pretty nasty.
Right, let's see.
One's 2, one's 1.
Let's see. My Battlemaster is going to be a total of 2 from Dane, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attack. So why don't I...
Well, if you want to kill your 2, it looks like you're going to have to do at least 1 undefended.
Well, we can
or Bjorn could do it.
Right,
potentially.
Right. So why don't I optionally engage bent... Or wait, yeah, the bent swords is quite beefy.
And we do now have a cave location in play, so that affects the Goblin
Axeman. It's now swinging for 2. So I'll optionally engage these Goblin bent swords. Why don't we say you take the Goblin driver? The Goblin Axeman is now swinging for 2, so he comes down to you engagement checks wise, and then this guy comes down to me, this Goblin runner.
Okay.
Which is swinging for 3. I guess let's do some shadow cards here. So starting with you, the first
so we have to do our force effect for the Great Cavern Room.
Yes.
So we have to do 2 damage each, and I'm just going to put mine on Gandalf.
Right. So let's see. After a player engages, damage to a character he controls.
Bofer.
I suppose, yeah, I'll do Bofer. So sounds reasonable to me. And for combat, how do you want to deal with, let's say, your Goblin driver?
Well, they're both swinging for 2, so I suppose it doesn't matter. I'll have Bjorn take one of them. Okay, so Goblin Driver. I'll resolve. This is defending player deals 2 damage, basically, to your characters. You could do Gandalf. Yeah, so Gandalf dies.
Yeah, no reason, I guess, to keep him in play. So that shadow card is now done. I'll put it over here. How about this Axeman? Oh, and I suppose Bjorn took 1 damage, right? And Axeman, swinging for 2.
And I guess Bjorn will take him as well.
Okay, so shadow card is attacking enemy gets +2.
Oh, boo.
So Bjorn is going to end up taking a total of 3.
3. Okay, so he's 1 away.
Yep.
Which is fine. Luckily, Landrefall is in play.
Right, exactly. So I've got these enemies here. Let's see. Erebor Battlemaster is certainly able to kill one of them, even with Dane exhausted. Thalon would be able to kill the other one, so... So
you need Bjorn to take one of them, then?
Yeah, so I suppose...
It doesn't matter which one.
Bjorn is probably doomed anyway. Let's... Yep. Yeah, they're both 3 attacks. So let's do Goblin Runner. And it's... attacking enemy gets +2, so that's good, I guess, that this is here. So it's going to swing for 4. Bjorn is going to end up taking 3 damage once again. And I'll put that shadow card over here.
So let's see. After a hero card is destroyed, return Landrefall to my hand.
Right.
And then Bjorn is back in play with 1 damage.
Right. So even though Bjorn is immune to player card effects, when he hits the discard pile, Landrefall's ability can trigger, according to Caleb Grace. So Bjorn is back at 1 hit point. Well, 1 damage.
Right.
And then Goblin Bent Swords, I suppose I might as well defend with Dane. And let's hope it isn't anything too horrid. Defending player exhausts a character he controls. So I'm not going to be able to kill both of these. I guess I'm going to exhaust my Battlemaster.
Yeah.
And let me put that shadow card over here.
So I will have... I'm wishing Unexpected Courage was on Dwalin, but I will have... Let's see. So this one is a total of 5. So Dwalin is not enough to kill the driver,
Okay.
but Dwalin has just enough to kill the Axeman.
Alright, so the Axeman is, of course, killed.
So I lower my threat by 2.
And you get to draw a card.
And I get to draw a card.
Awesome.
Oh, it's another Landreval. And then Bjorn and Gimli will attack the driver.
Alright, so that's
not
more
that Bjorn's
than enough.
not enough on his
Right,
own.
So
yeah.
the driver is killed. And now, on my side of the table, I will have Thalon kill the goblin runners, and Orcrist triggers to add 1 resource to his resource pool.
Very cool.
So, unfortunately, I've still got this guy alive here, but oh well.
Yeah.
Alright, so shall we refresh? Discarding all these cards. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so refresh, and if you'd make me first player, I'll grab Bilbo. I will draw 1 card, another Istari. I'll do all my resources, I'll trigger my steward, and I suppose I might as well pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I will go ahead and put Gandalf.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
Into play. I will do 1, 2, 3, 4 damage to my bent swords, and it is killed. And that is it for me.
I will pay 2 for a Dwarven Axe.
Okay.
On Dwalin. And that'll be it for me.
Alrighty, so for questing, it's probably going to be at least 1 more turn before we pass. It could get really bad really quickly, but I suppose I might as well try and take advantage of this lull in the encounter deck. So why don't I do a lot of questing here.
Lull in the staging area.
So let's see, I'll do 2, 5, 6, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And what do you want to do?
I'll send 3.
Alright, so a total of 20. I suppose there's a chance we can make it, but it's a pretty slim one. Encounter card number 1 is a Goblin Miners, so it's going to take 1 damage, 2 threat. Encounter card number 2 is another Great Cavern Room. So it's going to be a total of 4 threat that we're up against, which means we're going to make a total of 16 progress. So 3 of that is going to be absorbed by our active location, and that leaves us 1 progress token shy of completing our current quest cards. So, for the travel phase, it looks like yet again we have to travel to the Great Cavern Room, so I guess our heroes decided to turn around at some point. For engagement...
I can take this dude.
I'll go ahead and put him down here by you then. I'll give him a shadow card, and I suppose you've got to deal 1 damage to one of your characters.
Alright, I put it on Bjorn.
Okay, so how do you want to defend against this attack?
Bjorn.
Alright, so Bjorn, and the shadow card is attacking enemy makes an additional attack immediately after this one. So, better on the Goblin Miners than the Great Goblin. So Bjorn takes that 1 damage, and here's his other shadow card for attack number 2.
Oh, Gimli do
Alright,
this one.
Gimli, gonna share the love. And this is defending player exhausts 1 character he controls.
Okay.
Alright, so Bjorn, who's not immune to encounter card effects. And how do you want to respond to this deadly enemy?
Alright, I will attack with Dwalin.
Alright, so Dwalin is swinging for something like, I guess, 7, and he more than enough kills the 3 Goblin Miners. So it is gone. The shadow cards are also gone. I suppose you can lower your threat and draw 1 card.
Yep, already done.
Awesome. So, refresh.
Yep.
Alright, so Control R. I will make you first player. Here's Bilbo with a resource.
Now I draw a Goblin Cleaver.
And now I draw a cancel when revealed. I feel like that would have been more useful earlier in the video. Gandalf is, of course, discarded. And what are you doing for planning?
Well, you've got Bofur in play, so that makes my 2 Bofurs worthless. So I can't play a darn thing.
Alrighty. Well, I suppose I will go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I will play another Gandalf.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
And I'm going to go ahead and drop my threat down to 30, since we're probably going to be winning pretty soon. I suppose, shall we quest?
Sure. I'll send 4, if you want to exhaust Bilbo for me.
Definitely. And I will do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So it's going to be a total of 20 yet again. Encounter card number 1 is the Goblin's Caves. Encounter card number 2 is all engaged enemies return to the staging area, then each goblin enemy gets +1 threat until the end of the phase.
Well, that could be horrid, but we lucked out.
Definitely. So this basically does nothing. We're up against a total of 3 threats. 3 of our 17 progress is going to be absorbed by our active location, and that means we're going to have 33 out of the 20 progress required to pass our current quest phase. So, the Great Goblin is in our victory display, and at this point we have won the scenario. So Matthew, any final thoughts about Over the Misty Mountains Grim?
Yeah, it's definitely a fun quest. It was definitely a blast to play with the treasures, though we didn't actually have all that many goblins to deal with, so they didn't trigger too much. It was definitely fun to have the Landreval Bjorn combo and have Bjorn come back to life. I just didn't really feel like I was... when I say I wasn't drawing great cards, that sort of implies that I can't build good decks, and so I was drawing stuff I didn't want. But, I had 2 Bofors, I had 2 Gandalfs at one point, 2 Landrevals, just a bunch of stuff in my hand that couldn't get played. Never saw any of my feints, my cancel when revealed, finally drew a Goblin Cleaver. Definitely a fun quest. I enjoy it. It has the potential for the goblins to just completely overwhelm you. We didn't have that necessarily happen in this quest, but yeah, I definitely enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I've definitely had some different experiences in this quest. Sometimes it's relatively straightforward and simple, like we pretty handily dispatched the Great Goblin with our lucky Gandalf combo. But overall, this was alright. I've certainly had it happen before, where you just draw Surging Goblin after Surging Goblin, you get completely overwhelmed. In the very beginning of the game, if you're unfortunate enough to get multiple Stone Giants early on, a lot of different Galloping Boulders in play, maybe the Suspicious Crow triggering Galloping Boulders again and again, this quest has the potential to be an absolute nightmare, but I feel like we were able to squeak through relatively cleanly this playthrough, and it was not too bad. I guess you mentioned your card draw didn't happen to end up being too merciful, and definitely was a shame not to draw any of my feints or quick strike, or my 1 Goblin Cleaver ended up discarded. The early game discarding all of our attachments really was, kind of killed my enthusiasm about this quest, but overall it's an alright scenario, so...
Yeah, certainly having a hero die is bad, right? If Landreval hadn't have been on the table, we probably would have done that round of 4 goblins quite differently. But luckily Landreval was there to save our bear friend, and so it ended up being not too bad.
Yeah, I guess if anything, I'll just say I've definitely learned just how useful Bjorn can be from these last couple videos, just because the, infinite defending essentially was fantastic, so...
Right, and in a sense, having a bunch of cards in my hand that I couldn't necessarily play or were sort of holding off, like Bofor or Gandalf's, led me to be able to pay for Landreval in a timely fashion, so he was able to soak up some damage from a Galloping Boulders and then help Bjorn. So yeah, Landreval definitely came in handy, and to preview upcoming quests where there are certain sort of poison-ish attachments, Bjorn he shines there as well. So he's definitely a great hero. And I'm sure I'll be using him again in upcoming videos.
Definitely. Well, I suppose we've said about all there is to say about this scenario, so thank you for checking out another entry in the progression series. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so, and feel free to leave us a comment below if you've had any play experiences that have differed tremendously than mine did with Matthew. So if you've had a better time, if you've had a much worse time, feel free to share, but that brings this video to a close. Next up is going to be our scenario playthrough of Dungeons Deep and Caverns Dim, so we'll see you again soon.